So, you've been hearing a lot of good stuff about Etheria Restart and seeing a lot of really good guides. But the question is, are there any bad things about this game? Well, I am here to tell you some things that I've ran into during the beta that make me just go, ugh. So let's get into it. The first thing is that I really don't like is something I haven't seen in any of the gacha games, at least that I play, is when you're in a battle, for example, like one behind me, and you lose that battle, like all your characters die, or you try to leave the battle, you, instead of getting back the 10 stamina that you spent, you only get back 9. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot. You're only losing 1 stamina, right? Well, maybe, but if you're trying it over and over again, or you're doing something like auto battle and it's just losing, which it stops after the first one, but however, that 1 stamina can add up over time. And the question is, why do you even have to lose 1 stamina? So that's more of the question that I really don't understand, is why that's a thing to begin with. And I feel like in a gacha game, you shouldn't lose 1 stamina for not being able to clear a level, especially if it's a level that, let's say, it just unlocked, because some of the things you do are locked behind level. So it just unlocked and you go to try it to see if you could clear it and you lose, then you lose 1 stamina. So that doesn't make sense to me. Please fix it. The next thing is the light and dark banner, or the Apex character banners, as they're known as Apex characters. So the thing about those banners are, and I go over these banners in a future video that you'll see hopefully soon. So when you start the game, there is a limited banner for the light character Messiah, or Apex character. This banner, the cost of pulls on this banner is 3 times the cost of what it costs to pull on the permanent banner, and what it costs to pull on the selection banner, and what it costs to pull on the other limited banner. In this case, it's Freya. So you're paying 3 times the amount just to just to pull on this limited banner. And I think that's a bit ridiculous, because as you have free to play and low spenders in the game, that is a big loss for them. That's a big loss for everyone in general, but that almost, if not entirely, bars free-to-play players from pulling on this banner, because who would want to sit there and grind a game and spend 3 times the amount for an Apex character? Also, the pity is the same for the limited banners, both of them. So for Freya, where the pulls are 100, her pity is 100, and for Messiah, where the pulls are 300 apiece, his pity is still also 100. So there's no real balance there, and you really are losing out. And even though these Apex characters, these light and dark characters, are immediately available on standard, you don't really catch a break there either, for multiple reasons. So while yes, the pulls are cheaper, and the pity is 80, which is better, every single SSR character that's available in the game is there. So that in itself makes it hard to pull for those Apex characters that you want. Now, in addition to that, those Apex characters on the standard banner do have a lower rate than the other elemental characters. So the regular elemental characters have a standard rate of 0.75%, whereas the Apex characters, or light and dark characters, have a 0.25%. So it's not really ideal there either, unless you get really lucky. Then the third banner that has light and dark characters on it, or Apex characters, and it's cool because it only has Apex characters. However, this banner is different from all the others. So it still has a pity of 80, which is nice. However, this banner is a paywall banner. And what I mean by that is you cannot use Hydra crystals on it whatsoever. Period. And I should also mention the Messiah banner that I just spoke about. The pulls that you can earn in game, you cannot use it on that banner. There are special pulls, I'm just going to call them light and dark pulls, and they're a different color than the standard pulls that you can use to pull on the Messiah banner, or you can use crystals. But this special light and dark banner that has all the characters on it, you can only use the light and dark pulls. And the main problem with that is, unlike the standard pulls and the other pulls that you can use for limited, which are all the same, these light and dark pulls you can only get either behind a paywall weekly when it resets, which I believe is about 35 of them, and that'll run you like, I believe it's like around $80, if not more, just to get those 35 pulls. But yes, you get other stuff with it, but it's really pricey. In addition to that, the only other place you can get them is you can get them in your exchange shops, but it's still not a lot considering those shops, the points that you have to get for them are a lot of points, and some of those shops reset seasonally, not weekly. In addition to that, the only other places that I've seen them, other than sometimes in events and things, is if you manage to get a top placement in the PvP arena, not Fearless Arena, the tourney style one, but the other two, which, being a free-to-play or low spender, it kind of varies on how easy or difficult that would be to be able to get that top status. So that puts it even further out of the reach for free-to-play to even be able to obtain those pulls, save them up, and be able to pull in the banner. Not to mention, even if you are willing to spend, it is incredibly expensive. So that is another thing I really, really don't like. The next thing in relation to those Apex characters is Withered Shadow Sonya. She is a dark character, and you would think, because they're Apex characters, that they're all really, really, really good. You would be right, partially. Withered Shadow Sonya is kind of really struggling. So she's dot, which dot can work really well. We've seen it in other games like HSR, for example, when the dot meta was going around. But in her case, because she doesn't have 100% chance to apply the dot, if you miss applying the dot with her, that's basically her whole kit gone. And if you want to use her in PvP, kind of forget it. Unless you have a lot of effect accuracy. But even then, because it takes the time for her to do her combos to be able to pop her dot entirely, or on their next turn, it makes her not really favorable to play versus some other characters like Born, or, well, as far as light and dark, like Heinrich or Messiah. So I feel like her being an Apex character, we shouldn't have those problems with an Apex character, because if you spent the money to pull on that light and dark banner and you pulled her and then you realize, oh, well, I already have characters that are already better than this character, it would feel really, really bad. So please fix her. The next thing is the RNG of buffs on autoplay. I've heard a little bit about this in the world chat, and I've seen it myself. In autoplay, you know, sometimes there are teams that just don't perform really, really well on autoplay. That's understandable. But in this case, we lost the autoplay. It's fine. But in this case, so sometimes when your support characters are placing buffs, they don't prioritize the DPS. They either put it on themselves or basically a random target sometimes. So hopefully that gets fixed, because that would be a big quality of life when you're doing auto battling. The next thing is that, like other gacha games like HSR, Genshin Impact, WoWa, for example, there is a currency that you gain for making pulls. However, the store itself doesn't offer a wide variety of options. It's actually a very small selection of options. And on top of that, there are limitations of how many of the standard pulls you can exchange for this pull currency. And the shop refreshes weekly. That's kind of a problem because... or it refreshes monthly, I believe. I said weekly, but I believe it's actually monthly. Excuse me. So that's kind of a problem because it doesn't feel good. Because in other games, if you're pulling a lot, or if you saved a lot of pulls to pull on someone and you miss pity, you can always go to the store, even in ZZZ as well, and exchange the currency that you got for pulling and for pulling duplicates for your pull currency. Obviously, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, but you still get you get a little amount of pulls that help you to continue to try to get that character. So having a limit of 5 feels really, really, really bad, to be honest with you, because then you have to wait for the shop to refresh to be able to get those pulls again. The next thing that kind of bothers me, that I kind of got a bad expectation for, I suppose you could say. So when this game was coming out, as far as like dev videos and the tournament they demonstrated PvP, where there's a function where you could lock the middle character, because you select 5 characters in PvP and then your team, like the enemy teammate, can ban one of those characters. They demonstrated it in a way that you could lock the middle character, so whoever you put on that middle slot could not be banned. But however, in the game, that is not the case. Everyone is free and up for grabs, which makes PvP, especially if you're free to play or a low spender, even harder. And the reason being is just because of how PvP works. You cannot pick the same characters, for starters. And then, of course, if your whole lineup that you put out is free for them to ban, then what? Because let's say you're free to play. You start off with the free Leon. You have the free Lingluo. Then you have Dorothy that you started off with, and Gray, and then insert, whatever 5th character you manage to get on pulls, or you do on your selection banner, right? And you put all those on the field. Or you want to put all those on the field. But then you're facing someone who's also either free to play, low spender, or they just have the same characters and maybe some others. And they pick first, because you pick back and forth. And they pick your Leon. Now you can't place Leon. So then you pick your next 2 characters. Then they pick Lingluo, for example. Now you can't pick Lingluo. It really limits you as a free to play or low spender, because you can't pick the same characters and they can literally ban anyone. So if whatever you have left, if you only have, for example, 1 DPS left, and they decide to ban that DPS, you lose. More than likely. I've won without them before, but the odds are not always in your favor, especially with the current meta, which, by the way, is speed, but we'll talk about that in another video. So I really don't like that they don't have a lock function for us to be able to lock a character in PvP. The next thing is character XP. Now you unlock character XP after you do X sections of the story. I believe it's like 2 chapters, I want to say. But the point is there's a middle ground of where you need to level before you can do more of the story. And those XP books aren't available until a little later, which is a whole slew of problems. And I've heard a lot of people complain, and I myself didn't really feel that really nice, of the fact that you cannot farm for character XP from the start of the game, that you have to wait a little into the game to even start farming for XP. So I don't like that at all, and I hope they change that. And the last thing that I've heard a lot of back and forth about, and to be honest, yes, cosmetics are cosmetics, but I do understand wanting some nice outfits and things like that. So there are specific outfits in the game that you can get for your character, male or female. In my case, I chose female, so these are the female ones. And there are also recolors of their outfit when you go out and about to explore. However, the problem is not only the cost of these outfits, because it's just something on the screen, but also it's not the characters you play in battle, really, at all. These casual outfits are literally just the outfit for your character to sit on your home screen. You can't even wear them when you go out. You wear the adventure outfit. So the problem with that is just the cost for something like that, and also that none of them are available for free. There's nothing for like events or achievements or anything. None of the outfits are available for free through any of that. You have to pay for it, period. Which, as free to play, obviously you guys would probably avoid those altogether. So that in itself, I feel, is inherently definitely a problem. And then on top of that, you have the actual character outfits. Now, some of these are available for free through events or getting a certain rank in arena, etc., which is great. However, there are some paid ones, which is typically fine. My problem with that is that all of these outfits are recolors of the characters. So they bring nothing different to your battle experience than a recolor. And I don't really think that's great or worth the money. So I think if they want to have a high price point like this for outfits, that's fine. It's their game. But I think that they actually need to make actual new outfits instead of just recolors for their characters. Then people might be more inclined to spend on them versus, hey, look at this recolor. But that's my own personal opinion. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys have played the beta or if you've seen other things on it and you have some complaints about the game or some things that maybe you don't really like, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone!